the very first 72 hours. It's about lives. Can we still save more lives? Gwendolyn.
Good evening, Tianwei. And then I would like to say that our heart goes to the people there who are in need of help at the moment. It is crucial because the first 72 hours is about life. We have to do search and rescue. That's the first thing, in any disaster that we must do. We must rescue people and search. And then also the relief, to give the basic needs to those people who were evacuated. Then after that will come recovery. So in many, many cases, rescue teams, they do not stop. They keep on searching, they keep on rescuing until, everything is exhausted, that they couldn't find any more, live people. But at this hour, we continue to believe that there are still, people who might be trapped, that they needed help. That is very crucial, especially also to the people who are affected. The 72 hours is very important. That's why it's being taught in many countries, and that when disaster happens, you have to be prepared. You have to have your 72 hours first, survival kit, or they call it grab and go bag, that everything is there, water, food, that you'll not burden the government, you'll not burden the rescue teams. So that is very important.
China, as vast a country as this, can different regions be prepared about an ultimate disaster like an earthquake of this magnitude 7.0 from 20 kilometers below the ground?
No, first of all, I would like to express condolences to those people who perished in the earthquake in Jiuzhaigou, and also express our strongest support for those people still struggling in the disaster zone. They need our sympathy, they need our support. Now, China is so big, and different regions have different kinds of natural disasters. In Jiuzhaigou, in Sichuan, or the western and the northern part of Sichuan in particular, they're very prone to earthquakes, mainly because that particular region is under collision between the Qinghai-Tibet plateau as well as different regional plateaus which are squeezing each other. And that actually is one of the reasons why the Himalayas, for example, keep rising up. And therefore, it is reasonable to expect that earthquakes like this will happen in that particular part of China, and people there need to be prepared. Other people in other regions, for example, probably need to be prepared against typhoon or other kinds of natural disasters. So it varies from one place to another.
Sichuan was not new to natural disasters, not even to earthquake, unfortunately. 2008, we all remember in Wenchuan, not that far actually from where this time the earthquake took place, was such a trauma for both China and the world. But I guess it was also a time when China learned a lesson and get prepared. How much sign do you think this time it really showed in terms of both warning, first responder, and also the follow-up life-saving 72 hours, Mr. Gao?
Well, first of all, I think it's very encouraging to see that there have been several institutions, including the Seismic Bureau in Wenchuan, which actually managed to give early warning about
71 seconds
71
before
seconds.
It took place.
Exactly, and that 71 seconds, even though very short, could actually help save a lot of life. That's number one. So it's very encouraging, and we need to spend more time and resources encouraging the growth and the development of these institutions. Secondly, according to reports, the PLA forces appeared on the scene of the epicenter very soon, in about 8 or 10 hours, and they were very busy, handling the disaster relief and rescue missions. It's very encouraging. And then I think the local government entities were well prepared, well mobilized this time, and all this indicates that even though we regret and we're very much traumatized with the breakout of this earthquake, we have the courage, we have the hope that the local government entities, the military, the police forces will be fully mobilized to rescue and save the people.
Eventually the number of deaths would help us once again confirm, which you have just said, that ultimate efforts are being made to prepare for the worst. Gwendolyn, go to you. The relationship between the local Red Cross, let's just say in Sichuan province, and the ultimate, the National Red Cross in China, vis-a-vis their relationship with the International Red Cross. Help us to understand the system and also understand the response, particularly emergency response system. These time you see being used in Sichuan. How does that work?
Well, first I would like to explain a bit about our system. So all the Red Cross, Red Crescent societies, like in this case we have the Chinese Red Cross in the country, are auxiliary to the government.
Right.
And we are auxiliary to the government to discharge humanitarian functions. So we have a special status in the country. We are a member of the National Disaster Risk Reduction Council. So we are part of the system already. The Chinese Red Cross in this country, in such that way, they have a different levels of working. So in this disaster, it's only at the provincial level that is being mobilized, so that if another disaster is happening in another county or another province, they can respond as well. So the system has been put in place readily and prepared, so that if this is happens, they can take care of it at this certain level. They'll do that. So like in the government, the lowest level is the county level, which is level 4. And the level 4, it means that if the magnitude of disaster is less than 5.5 and only less than 20 people are dead, then the county can handle it. It's level by level. So the Red Cross is working closely with the government. The government is the one giving, of course, all the coordination work, the directives, the plan on what to do. In this particular case, the Red Cross supported the government and the people in relief, rescue, and also in setting up emergency shelter like the tents. Right away, we talk about time earlier. Time is of the essence. Speed is the name of the game.
That's right.
In this kind of disaster. The Zhou branch of the Red Cross, Chinese Red Cross, was there at 1 o'clock in the morning, already have given the relief goods to the people.
I see.
Blankets, kilts, tents. Then at 9 o'clock the following day, the rescue team coming from Sichuan branch, provincial branch, were there already supporting the rescue operation. So this is like part of the whole system of China and how it works. So we in the International Federation of the Red Cross, we are here not to replace the society, okay, not to overtake. We are here to support them, but
Right.
it's only by their request, if they need our help, that we can come in and support them. But they have learned a lot from the Wenchuan earthquake.
Right.
Now the Chinese Red Cross is the only Red Cross in the country that has the complete emergency response team with rescue, relief, everything that
I
we
see.
need.
But build on what Gwendolyn just said, Victor, what are the next steps? Of course, you're not an expert in disaster relief, but we remember very well in Wenchuan, after the precious 72 hours about life and death, you still have sporadic life-saving possibilities, but you have to make more than 200% of efforts in order to save one life or half the possibility of save one life. And then here's many others: disaster reduction, and also disaster, trying to support the people in the disaster areas, transportation, building. All of this are all entangled together. So, Victor, choose priorities. Have the most efficient way to do it. And also, not to miss not even a slight chance of saving a life. These had to be done all at the same time.
Well, first of all, in the 2008 Wenchuan earthquake, in the first week, I did altogether about 48 hours of live television
I remember.
commentary with CCTV. So I had a very deep impression of the scope of the disaster. Now this time it seems that the earthquake in Jiuzhaigou seems to be lesser of an earthquake. However, whenever an earthquake at 7.0 degree, for example, in Jiuzhaigou happened, it's like a drama with multiple chapters.
Of course.
And each of the chapters may be related to the next chapter. And then it seems that you trigger a clockwise movement. And we are still now in the first 72, 74 hour phase, and the rescue is of utmost importance. No effort should be spared to rescue life, for example, and then you will move into other phases,
Right.
including, for example, very importantly, mourning for the death and organizing of the affected people and psychological counseling, etc., rebuilding, reconstruction. So everything will happen like a clockwise, and we need to leave no detail unattended and look at each of the small aspects of this disaster, but also capturing the macro picture of this disaster
How
at the same
shall we,
time.
even at an early stage, compare this time China's handling of it to, let's just say, 2008, which I'm sure, as an international Red Cross person, you are very much aware, and also to your home country, for example, the Philippines and Japan, and many of the countries in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, or some in Latin American countries, frequented by natural disaster. How can we learn and share this experience, particularly now when there is a disaster and the aftermath of it?
Well, the recent disasters have taught a lot to the people globally. So people have learned, awareness have raised. But I think for China, what I want to speak in particular is to, there's a lot to learn from China. But also in every disaster situation, there's a lot to learn too. You know, when you're the country affected, I think it's good if we open, like in other countries, we open a bit to international experts, because there are many experts out there watching over this particular incident. They just want to help and support with a good heart, you know. And for maybe international fraternity spirit, it will be good to open a bit, then get them to come, because Chinese Red Cross as well, is becoming a global player. They go out and also help other countries. If they can bring in some experts to the country, they will not actually learn just from them, but also they can learn also in how to deal with them, because they're becoming a global player.
Right.
So they
We
can
are
know how to work.
at this point running out of time, but I hope the task of saving lives are not going to run out of time.